Hi, I'm Charles Campbell, and today's video was going to be just more things what to use, what not to use for guitar repair. I ended up just going ahead and doing a restringing video with lots of little tips and tricks on product that I use for that. One of the things I wanted to touch on is some of the things that you might get at the beauty store. Nail files, different grits of sanding for nails, as well as this buffing block, which is actually designed with 8,000 grit paper, as well as a polishing surface, which works really nice on frets. Anyway, today's video again will be a restring video with just tips and tricks on how to do that. So first I suggest loosen the strings before you cut them. Also, you want to have a pair of good diagonal cutters. I also suggest nut drivers, a 10mm for tuners and a 1/2 inch for input jacks and pots, usually for American pots, CTS type pots. #1 screwdriver for tightening the back of your tuners. It's always good to make sure things are snug. I like to line up my tuners so they're horizontal, lined up with the nut, or off from the headstock. Easier for restringing. This is that sanding block I spoke of. It's it's 8,000 grit sand, as well as a polishing surface. These frets are not that dirty or not that tarnished, and there's no pitting. So all I'm doing is just bringing back the shine. As you can see, it came back pretty quickly there. Use a good lint-free cloth for wiping things down when you get done. When doing this with rosewood or ebony, you probably don't need to tape it off, but with maple, whether it be finished or not finished, you really want to tape off the fingerboard, because all this little shavings from the frets, even the residue that's on the block, will get into the pores of the wood and just muck things up. Good thing about rosewood and ebony is you can use a dark oil. Tongue oil or linseed oil is really good for your fingerboard, just to make sure it's well nourished. This guitar has been sitting around for quite some time in the case. Hadn't been played all that much, so it really just needed a little gussying up, if you will. Nice clean cloth. Here I'm using just an old toothbrush and a little bit of lubricant. Any spray lubricants, even WD-40 or something like that, will get in there and just kind of get the goo out, make sure the rust isn't happening. Also, you'll see that I'm using my little Allen key driver that I use for adjusting the saddle height to clean in between those saddles. Just making sure everything's wiped off well, get all that lubricant off. Here I'm showing to use your guitar polish, don't use furniture polish, and to put it on the cloth, not directly on the instrument. Also wanted to show I have the inside of that guitar nicely shielded with shielding paint. I have images of all the switching and stuff too if you want to see it. Alright, restringing with 9-gauge strings, and away we go. What I like to do, particularly on guitars that have a floating tailpiece, like a Gibson Les Paul that has that stop tail, I like to put on the low and high E strings first, and then feed the rest of the strings. If you put those on first and then tighten them up, it'll hold everything together while you do the rest of the guitar. On Strat and Tele styles, I do like to feed all the strings through first, just so you can get the guitar laid down and start stringing, so you're not doing a lot of motions over and over again. And again, here you'll see that I'm tightening the E strings first, the high and low strings. Again, just kind of how I like to do it. On a 3x3 headstock, it's easier to do the 2 outside strings and then work your way in on both sides of the headstock, so you're not working around the tuners over and over again. Trying to get 2 to 3 winds on each tuning post, unless you're using locking tuners, which you'll use the manufacturer's directions. That string winder I'm using there I've had forever. You can see it's been glued and taped, but I like it, so I just keep on using it. If you're ever shopping for one, try to find one that has a screw that holds the handle on rather than one that's just pressed on, because that type will break easier and sooner. And that's what it should look like nicely. You'll see there that I did not tie on the string, I just kinked it. It's not really necessary if you put enough winds on the post. All clean and shiny. Alright, that's my Allen driver. I suggest a 1/16 of an inch at the 20th fret as my basis for my action height. You'll notice on the high strings that it goes a little higher than that. You have to kind of compensate for bending notes and the radius of the fingerboard, but it should be nicely rounded with the fingerboard when you get done. A few reasons why you want a decent set of diagonal cutters. One, to cut strings easily. Two, to cut springs if you want to do spring height. And if they stink, they're not going to work well. If you need to do screw height after mounting a pickup, the right tool for the job.
Thanks for watching.